If you're a fan of any Big 12 football team, you do not need to be offended by Bud Elliott at CBS Sports Blue Chip Ratio list. Don't worry about it. Don't be offended. As Big 12 fans, I embrace it. I'm Pete Mundo. Heartland College Sports is where you find us covering the Big 12. As we get this show started, hit that thumbs up right below the YouTube video if you're watching there. If you're on the podcast and you want to drop us that 5-star rating, it helps us tremendously. And it's even better when you leave a review, because then I share those on our Instagram page and also on our Twitter page, or X page. So follow us there as well. So this got a lot of traction on our site and around the college football media circles this week. And it's because Bud Elliott at CBS Sports does a very good job with this blue chip ratio formula that he puts together. And he's been doing this for well over a decade. And what he does is it's a formula without getting too into the weeds on it. It's basically a formula that uses recruiting rankings to figure out what teams in college football, based on, how many 4- and 5-star guys you have, can legitimately compete for a national championship. That's really what it is. Teams capable of winning a national championship have a roster makeup that has more 4- and 5-star recruits, blue chippers, than 2- and 3-star guys. Now, this doesn't mean that coaching and culture and development are not important, but when it comes to winning a national championship, not winning a conference title, not getting to a playoff, not getting to a championship game, but winning a natty, you've got to have that roster depth, and you oftentimes just have to have more elite talent. That's how it goes. So since Bud Elliott's been doing this at CBS in 2013, everybody who has won a national championship has had a blue chip ratio over 50%. And this year, as you look at his 2024 ratings that just came out, there are 16 teams that have a blue chip ratio above 50%, which is the threshold needed to be considered contenders for a national championship in his eyes, because everybody has had at least a 50% mark who's won a natty going back 10 years. And all the teams listed, none of them are in the Big 12. Here's the quick rundown. Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, Texas A&M, Oregon, Oklahoma, Texas, LSU, Notre Dame, Clemson, Florida, Miami, Penn State, USC, Michigan, Auburn. Now, do I think A&M is going to win a natty? Hell no. No. Do I think that Miami is going to win a natty this year? Goodness, no. It's not about looking at these teams and saying they don't have a chance to win a national championship. There's no way. In fact, I would argue that there are multiple Big 12 teams that have better chances, let's say, than Texas A&M to win a natty, just because a Big 12 team is going to get to the college football playoff and going to get a bye as a conference champion. So right out of the gates, you theoretically would have a better chance of winning a national title. But putting that all aside, I am not offended by no Big 12 teams being on this list, because the Big 12 does not have a blue blood program right now. So without having that blue blood program that's inherently going to recruit a bunch of 4- and 5-star guys, then you're not going to rank high on this blue chip ratio list. You're just not. But it doesn't mean a Big 12 team cannot obviously get to a college football playoff. At least one will in a 12-team format, and then potentially win a game or two, and then you roll the dice in the natty. Look at TCU a couple of years ago. Now we know how that went, but still, this is not a list to be offended by. It's basically a recruiting rankings formula. And the recruiting rankings generally are pretty good, right? I mean, there's no... and Bud Elliott, to his credit, spelled all this out. 4- and 5-star recruits are about 10 times more likely to be drafted in the first round of the NFL draft than their 2- and 3-star counterparts. It's not to say you can't get to the NFL if you're a 2-star guy. We know dozens, hundreds have. But the odds are the odds. 5 stars are 33 times more likely to be All-Americans than 2 stars. So that's the data. The Big 12 does not have that team right now that is recruiting consistently in the top 10 to 15 in the country. I mean, even the teams that are favored to win the league this year are not what you would consider perennial top recruiting teams. Mike Gundy finds his guys at Oklahoma State. Chris Kleiman at Kansas State has a formula. It's not about as many 4-star guys as he can get. Now, he gets them when he needs them, when they're fits, culturally and otherwise. Avery Johnson, Dylan Edwards coming in from Colorado, who was originally committed to Kansas State. But it's not going to be a program that's going to have, 10 4-star guys every recruiting cycle. That's not the program Chris Kleiman is building at Kansas State. Utah, Kyle Whittingham. This was a conversation on the Heartland College Sports message boards, which if you have not signed up yet, what are you doing? It's free. We're bumping over there at the Heartland College Sports forums. Just click on the forums tab on the homepage, sign up. We got already a lot of football chatter going amongst fellow Big 12 fans. So be sure to get on there, sign up, subscribe. It's free. We're not looking for anything out of you, just a good time. But Utah fans have been informing us on the message boards about how Kyle Whittingham, recently just lost a 4-star, not lost, but missed out on a 4-star recruit they thought they were going to get. And, it's never been a program that's going to recruit top 15 classes in the country. So Kyle Whittingham, who's had tremendous success, the guy owns USC, and he's not recruiting at that level. So you tell me, in the Big 12, who is that team that under this Bud Elliott blue chip ratio formula is going to be in that mix? That team doesn't exist right now in the Big 12, and that's okay. Now, Bud Elliott will say at CBS Sports, hey, this formula has been solid in predicting which teams are capable of winning a national championship. He's also been very clear to point out it doesn't guarantee anything. It just means this is the group based on the talent and depth that can get to that point. And so far, they've been perfect. There has not been a team with a blue chip ratio below 50% that has won a national title. Clemson almost did it back in 2015. Florida State last year would have been an interesting case study had Jordan Travis not gotten injured and they got to the college football playoff. But, those are all what ifs at this point. At some point, somebody's going to break the streak. Because when you factor in culture, when you factor in player development, when you factor in the transfer portal, the streak is going to be broken. And frankly, the larger the playoff becomes, and the more slots that you get in for teams that aren't just picked by the committee, where the blue bloods get the benefit of the doubt, the better off teams like the Big 12 are going to be. They're going to have more opportunities. The upsets might end up coming more frequently. We have had an invitational since the college football playoff began. There is no doubt in my mind, you'll never convince me otherwise, that back in 2014, TCU would have won a national championship. They were the number 3 team in the country. They beat Iowa State in the final week of the season, 55-3, and they freaking dropped down to 6. The committee looked okay because guess what happened? Ohio State was picked over TCU, and Ohio State won the national championship that year with Cardale Jones. But TCU got hosed. That team, to me, would have won a national championship with Trevon Boykin. But such is life. It happens. So we'll never really know, going back to that period of time. But now with a 12-team playoff, you say at some point, I feel like I just said it like Herm Edwards, playoff. But at some point, that streak is going to be broken. And I could see it being broken one day by a Big 12 team. I could see that happen. But I'm not up in arms. I'm not. First off, I don't think there's a national championship contender this year in the Big 12. I think it's going to be the most exciting conference in America. It's going to have the best finish to the conference in America. You could enter the month of November with half the Big 12 still holding out hope that if they win out and things break just right for them, they can play for a Big 12 championship and as a result be in a college football playoff. But do I think that the Big 12 is sitting there saying, oh, we've got a couple of teams that are legit national title contenders? I mean, they might feel that way in the locker room, but I'm not seeing it right now. Now, as we get closer to the season, we continue to brush up on our teams. Maybe I feel differently come August 31 to kick off week 1. But right now, I'm not seeing it, and that's okay. But someone's going to get in the dance. Probably only one. It'd be unlikely to get 2. But somebody's going to get in the dance, and once you're in the dance, you roll the dice, and you see what happens. I'm Pete Mundo on HeartlandCollegeSports.com. It's great to be with you here as we roll through another show. Bo writes, clickbait title. Everybody knows Alan Bowman is going to hold up the Natty on January 20th. I don't know. Is Alan Bowman going to be holding up a Natty, or is he going to be icing his knees after his 29th birthday or whatever he is? No, listen, I love Alan Bowman. I think Oklahoma State's got a great chance to find itself playing for a Big 12 championship. But Oklahoma State, this blue chip ratio, by the way, only goes back to 2013. But if you want to take it back even further, and I guess they only started doing this back in 2013, but the team that didn't have the blue chippers, by the way, that should have played for and won a national championship is Oklahoma State in 2011. That team should have played for a national championship. No doubt in my mind. They would have beaten Alabama or LSU, whoever they would have played in that game. They would have beaten. That was the best team in the country with Brandon Whedon, Justin Blackman, Whedon coming back from baseball, 2-star guy, Blackman a 2-star guy. Maybe Whedon was 3, but that was the best team in the country that year. There's no doubt about it. That is not even debatable. All right. It is what it is. And for those of you wondering, by the way, let me just add this and then we're going to move on. If you wonder what the blue chip ratio would look like with transfers, it doesn't change a whole lot. It doesn't. Because when you think about it, as much as we focus a lot on the transfer portal, most teams are using it to plug holes. It's not usually blue chippers that are hitting the portal necessarily. Now, many do, but most don't. Some transfers are special players, but most of them, even those taken by good schools, are being used to fill roster holes. Most of the sport's truly elite players are recruited out of high school and retained by that school when they sign. So it doesn't really change the blue chip ratio when you factor in things like transfer portals. It's not as big of a deal as some might think it would be. Now, that being said, let me dive into this for a second. And I'm going to preface this all by saying when it comes to the EA Sports College Football 25, I'm not a video game guy. I haven't played video games consistently since Nintendo 64 over 20 years ago. That's the last time you could call me a gamer. I was a, James Bond, GoldenEye 007, for those of you that want to go back to the late 90s. Super Mario Brothers, Zelda. I mean, that was my jam. Late 90s, early 2000s, first couple of years. I probably faded off by 03, 04. So it's been over 20 years since you could call me a gamer. So I don't know anything about college football 25. Now, we got guys on staff, Brian Clinton, Joe Tillery. They're all about this. They're doing a podcast called In the Game. It's on YouTube as well, so make sure you're subscribed and checking out their show if you're into college football 25. I'm not buying any PlayStations or whatever it's on. I mean, I got 3 little kids under 5. If I start playing video games, I'm going to be kicked out of the house. I'm a dead man walking. That being said, or I'm not walking, I'm just a dead man. That's for sure. I saw, and it was a big deal on the website this week, that EA Sports released the toughest places to play in college football 25. And there was only one Big 12 team in that top 25, and it was Utah coming in at number 18. And I don't want to scream anti-Big 12 bias, but I'm going to scream anti-Big 12 bias. That is complete and utter BS. Now, EA Sports said this was put together with, a combination of things like capacity, how big a stadium is, like how many people can fit into a stadium. That was one of the factors they used. They did it based on home winning percentage. They used things like home game attendance, home winning streaks, team prestige. I don't even know what that means. But there was one Big 12 team on the list, and Texas A&M came in at number 1. Alabama came in at number 2. I mean, nothing is more of a wine and cheese crowd than Alabama. Texas came in at 19. Another wine and cheese crowd. And I'm going to say this as well, and I know we got OU fans watching, but OU came in at number 8. And as someone who used to live and work down in Oklahoma, that place on a rockin' night is not as rowdy as Stillwater. Now, there's more people there, yes, but it is not as rowdy as Stillwater gets at Boone Pickens. You know, if the games are comparable at night, big moment, Boone Pickens is crazier in terms of places to watch a game based on the atmosphere. There's more people at Memorial Stadium, but the atmosphere is more charged in Stillwater. So this is whatever computer model EA Sports did here is a complete and utter joke. Alabama at 2. I've never heard anybody say that Alabama. Now, I haven't been to a game in Alabama, but you ask anybody in terms of what the crowd is like, oh my goodness. No one's going to sit there and say that's the roughest place to play in college football. It's at number 2, A&M at 1. Now, LSU at 3, Tiger Stadium, I get. Ohio State at 4, I understand. Beaver Stadium, Penn State at 6, I get. Camp Randall at 7, I can understand as well. You go down the list, I get some of these. But, man, they put way too much into, first off, historical home winning percentage. Who cares what happened in 1972? What's that have to do with the atmosphere today in these stadiums? Attendance numbers are overrated. But I'm looking around the Big 12. I said, Oklahoma State's missing. I thought to myself, I know they haven't been good in a while, but Texas Tech, you get a big night game in Lubbock. Ask some older players who played during, the Mike Leach years about games in Lubbock at night. They were wild. West Virginia's atmosphere is right up there as one of the most underrated in all of college football. I mean, it's just crazy to me that you look at these and you say to yourself, there's not one Big 12 team in the top 25 here on the EA Sports Top 25 college football, toughest places to play. Not that I needed a reason to not pick up video games again, but if I needed a reason to not pick up video games again and start playing college football 25, this is it. But I know a lot of you are going to play it. I'm not knocking anyone who will. I'm just telling you, it's not my thing. And this is a reason why I will not be picking up the video game. But there is a lot of chatter about this on our forums as well. We've got a full section for EA Sports College Football that is getting traction as well on the forum. So go sign up there because that part of our community is going to be blown up real fast come the college football season. Scott adding that West Virginia should be on there. Absolutely. There should be on there. Jonathan says the poll is a joke. There's at least 3 Big 12 stadiums that are tougher places to play than a lot on there. Absolutely. At least, I named 3 right there. The 3 that I think are missing from the Big 12. Oklahoma State, West Virginia, and then, for me, you could probably flip a coin between Texas Tech and, I think Iowa State's got a great underrated atmosphere, but I might be showing my bias towards Ames when I say that. But some of these, I'm like, oh my goodness, these are some soft options that EA Sports put in this top 25. You have got to be kidding me. But you know what? You guys tell me where things stand for you when you look at this deal and where this entire game is going coming up here. I guess in the next few weeks, it's going to be coming out, which is pretty wild when you think about it, because I know a lot of you are going to be talking about it. Meantime, I want to wrap it up with this. Texas baseball is hiring A&M baseball coach Jim Schlossnagle. Now, he was at TCU. He went to A&M. That was a big deal. Now, he's upended the college baseball world, and he's going from A&M to Texas. This after David Pierce got fired. Now, I put this up on the Heartland College Sports X page, which you can go follow us there. It's that meme of the guy sweating and pointing at two buttons, and it's like Texas or Texas A&M. Big 12 fans trying to figure out which side of this fiasco to be on. And obviously, we as Big 12 fans don't really have a dog in the fight, don't really care at all. It's basically SEC eating SEC, and I can't figure out which side I want to be on. Am I gloating about A&M fans losing their mind? Or am I like, you know what, screw Texas. They just hired one of the best coaches in college baseball. But I think I'm taking more joy out of the A&M meltdown and the A&M tears, because those fans are just, I mean, you want to combine arrogance with aloofness, with just being complete and utter dorks, with no reason for the level of arrogance that they have. Like, that is Texas A&M in a nutshell. That's who they are. That's who the fan base has always been. So if I got to pick a side in the A&M Texas battle, I'll lean Texas. It's not going to be a hard lean, but man, it really is the ultimate tallest midget conversation. But I'll lean Texas if you put a gun in my head. And for those of you asking, I know it's already coming up. The horns down sign will be coming off the wall here, I guess, in the next week, right? They're gone July 1. Same thing with the Oklahoma sign. And then I've got to get the 4 new teams up here. All right. They join in August. Officially, it's August 2nd. But I'm going to get them up before then. So we're going to get the new teams up here. Don't worry about it. I'm just trying to be official in how we do this. That's all. All right? Just trying to be official in how we go about doing this. But we'll have some special show when we rip this sign off the wall. And I don't know. We got to celebrate somehow. I got to get a beer sponsor on here before that. So email me, PeteMundo@HeartlandCollegeSports.com if you want to join the show in a sponsorship capacity. Get on the forums. They're free. They're popping. Big 12 fans are coming in like crazy. A lot of Utah fans joining the equation. And they're not like the idiots on social media that you see. They're actually pretty good guys. So hop on the forums. They're free. We got a lot of community building going on there and a great way to interact with Big 12 fans. People are already asking for travel advice, getting to and from games. So it's been a lot of fun. And we appreciate you guys being here on Heartland College Sports. I'm Pete Mundo. Hit that thumbs up button right below the video on YouTube. If you could, leave us that 5-star rating and review on the podcast as well. It takes you 30 seconds. It's a great way to help this show grow. And man, we have grown, and it's because of you. It's not because of anyone else. It's because of you, your word of mouth. You're sharing it. You're passing it on to friends and family and fellow fans. And that's it. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart as we approach 10 years of Heartland College Sports, which I can't believe. Started this thing in 2014 with a laptop, had no idea what I was doing. And we've come this far because of you guys. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of the show. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Go Big 12. Check us out at HeartlandCollegeSports.com. Take care.